Hi, welcome to the G2 Gallery podcast. Today we have a really special guest with us, Mr. Clyde Butcher, who is the photographer that we are showing in the Visions of America exhibit right now at the G2 Gallery. How are you?
Oh, great. It's great to be in Venice.
Yes, the other Venice.
Yes.
Because you're from Venice, Florida, that is, right?
Yep.
Yes. So let me start off and let's talk a little bit about what you're doing out here in California.
Well, actually, this is it was really kind of neat to come out for this exhibit because it gave me an excuse to photograph on the way.
Yeah.
We've been gone since the day after Christmas. We photographed Canyon de Chelly, Grand Canyon, Alabama Hills, the Bristol Cone Pine, the Red Rock Canyon.
Yeah.
Another place, Pinnacles place, just south of Long Pine.
Yeah.
So we've been having a lot of fun.
And is that what you sort of set out to do during the trip, was to photograph mostly, and then just stop at the? I mean, when was the last time you traveled out to California?
Last time I was out here photographing was 2007.
Okay.
I did a workshop in Death Valley, and then after I showed everybody what was really interesting, and after they left, I did my pictures.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the work that you have these days. Now, you've been shooting for a long time, all your life.
Actually, there's 2 or 3 images in the show that were shot in 1971.
Which two?
The driftwood.
Okay.
And the sand dune, a couple of sand dune shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you now that you're still shooting now, how have you progressed? How have you noticed in retrospect sort of the progression of your photography?
Well, when I first started out, which was like 1961.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't know, it was a whole I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So I was emulating Ansel Adams and Weston and Win Bullock. So I was basically photographing more, I say, artistic compositions of things.
Okay.
And now I've progressed into more environmental type images that lead you into the photograph. And a lot of the photographs that are really good, there's nothing in the center.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a whole different concept. The edges of my photograph are the important parts.
Really?
Yeah. It's really different than they're taught in photography.
Was that just like something you've noticed, or was that a conscious sort of decision?
It was actually, I probably, in about 1973, really started photographing the redwoods up by Eureka.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a natural feeling that I felt there.
Yeah.
And that's followed me through, and I think it really gives me a distinct look of what I'm doing. It's quite different. And one of the problems with it, though, to make it look right, they have to be large.
Yeah. Yeah. And these are large prints that we have at the gallery if you haven't seen them yet.
So it's a different way. Like I say, I make my pictures large so you can't see them. Right. Because you have to scan them. Yeah. And that gives you a feeling of being there. If people don't understand how they see, you're looking at me and you're still scanning. Yeah. You can't see but more than 5 degrees.
It's true.
You can perceive more. Yeah. But you can't see more. So
you're really focused in on just very specific
So people
details.
And why I use a large format camera, is so when you see the grass or you see something, it's in detail. Mm-hmm. Your brain likes stuff to be sharp and in detail. And I guess you might call it an Ansel Adams F-64 type guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because of the detail that's in your... I mean, that's what everyone's coming in and saying, is just that the detail is so incredible.
And that to me, that's gives you a better feeling of being there. Again, that's what you do in your reality. Mm-hmm.
That's true. You focus on very small parts.
You're walking along and you look down, you see something detail by your feet. Mm-hmm. Then you look up at the tree, you look around here, and you're constantly seeing new things. And then when my photographs are so large and so complicated sometimes, you keep seeing new things all the time, even after you have it on your wall for a year.
Now you said that this is going from sort of like putting things, or from an Ansel Adams, like a really interested into the composition, and moving in more environmental.
Right.
So does that mean that your objective in shooting, like your overall sort of like thesis of your work has constantly evolved? I mean, is it sort of just like it's become less about the work and more about...
I've become more of a teacher than a photographer.
How does that feel?
I think it feels great because there's a lot of teaching to be done in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah, this is very true.
People live in the urban. I mean, how many people live in the urban percentage-wise compared to out in the farms and the woods anymore?
Yeah.
What, 95% maybe?
Right.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
So we have to try to get people, at least get the feeling of the environment so they understand how the importance of it is.
And so, you know, because it is like, especially organizations like, you know, NGOs or just a lot of people who are very active in their community and in the society. I mean, they are living in more urban areas, and so that they're not getting that constant sense of what else is out there, what they're missing. I mean, do you feel like that's sort of...
Well, it's really kind of funny because like when you have a Sierra Club convention,
right?
It's in downtown San Francisco.
Right, it should be out in the...
It should be out in the Dooley somewhere, or up in Yosemite, or in Miami. We have an Everglades convention. It's in Miami.
Yeah,
we should have it out in the Everglades somewhere.
Why do they do that? It's just easier.
It's easier, travel, and there's no mosquitoes.
Yeah,
and that people can drive their SUVs there.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So do you think that's sort of like... I mean, obviously you know are in these organizations to help spread the word and educate, but do you also sense that in these organizations that there is a lot of there's still not... people still aren't taking their own personal responsibility, like you said, like driving their
well, I can tell you some sad stories.
Oh, really? No.
I was, I don't know what I should even say it. I shouldn't get into it.
Oh, okay.
This was an environmental organization, national. All the board was there, all the uppity-ups were there, and they gave me a nice award. And then they asked me to talk. At the end of the talk, I asked them, what are they doing personally for the environment? One person had a car that had good mileage. They were not putting any LED lights in. They weren't putting any solar panels in. They were doing... They said, "Oh, we're working for the organization." Well, I said personally. Personally,
yeah.
Oh, you mean I have to be personally responsible? Oh. That was that. They were... I don't know. They never talked to me again or what.
Really? Yeah.
But you have to put it to people.
Yeah. I mean, when you find that out, I mean, when you deal with people, I mean, is it, I mean, because you communicate, and we have videos playing in the gallery of you communicating to huge amounts of people, but it is such a personal problem, because it's just changing sort of just the mindset.
Right.
You know.
Well, one of the problems is that in the educational system of television and papers and all this different ways, people are not being educated to do. It's really interesting. A television station will do a program once. That's it. Now, if it's O.J. Simpson, it's 10 times a day for 3 months. Yeah. But if it's important on the environment, it's once every 5 years. So you don't keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. The people, the government, and the whole situation is so complicated, and our lives are so complicated. Unless you beat it in, it's not going to stick.
So then, recently I've noticed since since probably like 2005 or 6 that all of a sudden GE is saying "Let's go green," and and then on NBC and Viacom, there's all these giant greens. So you have these huge corporations saying "Let's go green." Let's
I guarantee you, they aren't going green.
Right. So then, when you see that kind of thing, I mean, does that hurt you?
It's the word "going green" means you do one little teeny thing and you're going green.
Yeah.
Like if NBC wanted to go green, they would figure out how many kilowatts of electricity their whole organization uses and set up a solar field to produce that amount of electricity.
Yeah.
That's green. They would change all their light bulbs to LEDs. They would make sure everything is insulated properly. If you want to go green, it's a very complicated issue, but very simple to do.
Right. Right, and it is sort of that thing. I mean, so going back to you talking to these mass group of people, I mean, you're trying to hit them on a personal level, and how do you go about that? Do you feel like you get a better response when it's one-on-one instead of like an auditorium?
It's interesting. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to there's two kinds of audiences.
Mm-hmm.
There's the audience that you're speaking to the choir.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the audience that you're not speaking to the choir.
Yeah.
Now, the ones that I speak to the choir, which are environmentalists and people that are kind of in the same tune, will ask you questions and such. Right. Okay. But now when I go to an audience that's not part of the choir,
right.
people that have no idea what the environment's about, they will not ask questions until the talk is over, and they do it personally one-to-one because they don't want their friends to know they're interested.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different kinds of audiences.
And so when you're getting that kind of like, you're having that sort of conversation, I mean, why do you think people are so afraid or are like, are not willing to?
Because subconsciously they know they're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But they don't really want to admit it.
So then, I mean, you've been talking to people for years about this. So then what's the best way to approach or get, a response, a good response or results?
I'm not sure there is.
Yeah.
The only way I've gotten the best response is to explain to people how much money I've saved doing it right.
Oh, well, see, there you go.
Like, for instance, the university in Fort Myers put in LED lights in their parking garage. It cost $80,000. That's a lot of money. Well, the first year, they saved $60,000 in electricity, and they're supposed to be good for 20 years. So that's a $1.2 million on their $80,000 investment. Now, tell me where you get that in a CD. Right.
Exactly.
There's nowhere you can get that kind of return.
No. And I mean, so then it is money that talks.
And money, people start understanding. Like in my little gallery, I put in LED lights, and I went from $360 a month electrical to $150.
Wow.
Just by changing light bulbs.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'm going to make a $4,000 investment. I'm going to make a $50,000 profit over the time of the bulbs.
It's amazing.
So I'm making money by spending a little bit.
Yeah, just up front.
But it's thinking a little long term.
Right. I mean, your work really stands for something.
I hope the things I photograph are being around the next 100 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, now, is that... So then this is sort of a good segue because you're capturing, for instance, some landscapes and some trees and rivers and lakes and mountains that they may not be here in the next couple of years.
There's two ways they might not be here. Yeah. One, the 92nd Congress had, I think it was 100 parks they wanted to settle.
Yeah. So,
they could take a bulldozer in there and bulldoze the Badlands, make it flat, get rid of all those bumps. Florida has... The new governor has 425,000 acres of land that we've bought that he wants to sell to developers. Then there's the catastrophicness of global warming and weather change. So there's, which is being caused by the human being.
Right.
So we have a huge task to try to keep this beautiful world. And one of the things I try to explain to people, the world's round.
Yeah.
People say, what do you mean? I know it's round.
Right.
Then the next question is, do you treat it like it's round? Oh, I mean, I'm supposed to be responsible? Ah, yes.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of message. Like every slide presentation or PowerPoint I give, I end with a picture of the Earth from outer space. To say, this is, where we're at.
Yeah.
This little spaceship.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, and since you began, I mean, have you noticed a significant change in the lands that you?
I've noticed good change and bad change.
Okay.
There's a lot of good things happening.
Yeah.
And a lot of bad things happening. Most of the good things are happening is what humans are doing to correct mistakes.
Yeah.
And the other ones obviously are humans that are taking advantage of the environment.
And so when you started, I mean, obviously climate change and global warming, and I mean, that wasn't...
That was not even
wasn't
a thought.
thing.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So...
But what it was a thing
Yeah.
was the Cuyahoga River burning,
Oh, yeah.
smog,
That's right.
all the trees and the Smokies dying from the industrial pollution. That was major in the 50s and 60s. And that's why people don't forget who's the best environmental president we have.
Jimmy Carter.
Tricky Dick.
Oh, Tricky Dick.
Nixon created EPA, clean water, clean air, EPA. Everything that's environmental law today was created in Nixon's administration.
I did not know that.
And unfortunately, if he hadn't been for Watergate, he would probably been known as a famous president.
Right.
For
that, and it's funny. I mean, he put all of that into. I mean,
of course, now they're trying to get rid of that.
They're trying to get rid of the same party.
Same party's trying to get rid of all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, it's not the Republican Party anymore.
Right.
I don't want to get into politics.
Right. No. But it has. I mean, obviously, yes, it has changed drastically. But I mean, you have a bit of a relationship with Jimmy Carter.
Oh yeah, I really love. I gave him and his family over a Christmas vacation a swamp walk. We were with him all day, and he was perky and smiling. He said, "Oh, it's been a long time since I've been wanting in a swamp."
Yeah.
And we're up to his waist in water, and the Secret Service people are panicking.
Yeah.
That was the Secret Service was fun. But
did they go in the swamp? The Secret Service go in the swamp?
They have to.
They had to. Yeah.
They're responsible. In fact, at one point, they had figured out we're supposed to go back because they didn't want to be in there very long. And I asked the president, we should go on here because it's prettier, but they don't want us to. And he says, no, don't listen to those guys. So we head off into the swamp, and the Secret Service are going the other way. All of a sudden, they realized the president was gone.
Oh.
And they panicked. So I've had fun with those guys and a lot of different politicians.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you call Jimmy Carter Mr. President, or did you call him Mr. What would you call him?
Called him Jimmy.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. He sends me. He paints,
I did know that. Yeah.
And every year he sends me his new greeting cards for the year.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of neat.
That's a really special thing.
And he's a woodworker.
Yeah.
Obviously, his politics is still going on. Was trying to save the people around the world, and
right. He's a huge hero of mine.
Yeah. He's a very intelligent man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've become, and you might review this, but you've become famous.
Well, that's what everybody says. I look at it this way. I still put my pants on one leg at a time.
Right. Yes, but then you make beautiful photos after.
So I just never have really. I just do what I do because I enjoy doing it, and it's an important job to do. And I don't think people are really serious about what they do.
Yeah.
Don't consider them famous.
Well, I mean, was there ever a moment where it sort of like, you're like, oh my gosh, people know me. They know me. Like, people I've never met know. Like,
well, yeah, I'm out in the middle of Escalante somewhere and say, hey, Clyde, what are you doing out here?
Yeah.
I'm in a restaurant in Washington and they say, I thought you were in Florida. It's supposed to be in Florida.
Yeah.
So because I sneak out and do other things every once in a while.
But I mean, you can really use that, though. I mean, you can really.
I try to do it judiciously.
Right.
You don't want to overdo it. I try not to get too much in politics, but with our governor now, I'm afraid I'm going to get into it because he's such a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you written to Obama at all? Have you done anything with his administration?
I've done a little bit with the Department of Interior.
Okay.
And but they have. I'm one of these people that I let them seek out me.
Okay.
If they feel it's important. If they don't, then it's probably not important to me to talk to them.
So you didn't start off thinking that you'd be here.
Oh. No, I mean, where I'm at today?
Where you are today?
No, I was, actually I went to college as a math major.
Yeah.
And ended up being an architect. And in '69 decided I wanted to be an artist.
How was that? What was that like? That's a drastic change from math.
Well, yeah. Eventually we ended up losing everything, living in a tent trailer with my wife and 2 kids.
Wow. Oh gosh!
And
did you? I mean, was there a moment of when you were in that?
No, I didn't. No, there was no question.
Yeah,
I was. I mean, that was just what I was doing, and I have maybe a weird personality, but I guess when I have my head and go in a direction, I just keep going there.
Yeah. And is that what you taught? I'm asking a million questions. So, but when you were in that, you were trailer tent. What were you saying? Tent trailer.
We could only stay in a state park. This was in California.
Yeah.
You can only stay in 2 weeks. So we're going from state park to state park to state park to state park. And driving to. I did rent a small space in Newport Beach to have the dark room.
Okay.
But that was more important than a place to live.
So then, how did you explain that to your kids that you're traveling around? I mean, did you?
They just came along.
Just came along.
They were young.
Yeah.
2 and 4, I guess, at that point.
And then, so then when it was time for them to go to school, did you have to sort of find?
Oh, they've been to so many schools.
Oh, really?
I can't remember exactly when. I think Jackie was 8 or 9. We decided to live on a sailboat.
Yeah.
26-foot Columbia.
Wow.
Then we moved up to a 35-footer. But basically, we raised our kids in a sailboat. So they were used to simplicity.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's sort of, I mean, so.
No television.
No television, right.
Which is really hurting kids today.
Yeah. So then how do you have grandchildren?
I have 2 grandchildren.
So, and they have televisions, I'm sure. They watch TV.
Oh, yeah. They've got like 5. And their iPhone. And
yeah. So then what do you do with, like, what do you take them out and just show them this?
Well, we try to be as much with them as we can. They have their own families too. But,
of course,
Nikki takes our granddaughter is really interested in photography.
Okay.
So she takes, it seems like Nikki communicates really good with her.
Yeah.
So she takes her out photography all the time.
Yeah.
And my grandson is a little, he's only 12. So
right.
He's a little, I think he's getting to the point where I can spend more time with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that sort of something that you pass down? I mean, because you have multiple responsibilities. I mean, you have to just teach your grandchildren this and show them this, and then you have everybody who comes to your book signings and.
Oh yeah.
Does it ever wear down on you? I mean, this sort of goes back to what we were saying before about one day waking up and realizing that you're famous. I mean, does that?
Well, I basically. This last fall and this winter, I'm busy almost every day.
Yeah.
And when May hits until September, I ain't doing nothing. I'm photographing.
Yeah, okay.
And playing in the darkroom.
Okay.
So it gets to a point where you have to say, it's like this right now. It's like, what's first, the art or the communication? So I'm going to break it down to part of the year is communication, part of the year is art, because I could be busy every day giving talks. Yeah. But it's not getting anywhere in the art field, right? Which is going to bring people closer to nature, hopefully.
So then you started off and you never thought that you would be, correct me if I'm wrong, did you ever think that you would become, a giant sort of spokesperson, or the better term is, you'd be going out to bat for
I was from a blue collar family. Yeah. A sheet metal worker. I had no visions of what I'm doing today. Right. Absolutely none. Yeah. And on the path I've started in 1986, seriously on the environmental movement, when my son was killed by a drunk driver. Yeah. And I decided, I'm doing stuff that seems like it's doing things, but I think I could do more. Yeah. And that's how I went from color to black and white.
So then, if you don't mind, if we could talk about that a little bit, because yesterday when I was talking with Nikki, she said that it was a huge moment for both of you to reevaluate what you had been doing. Right. So, you're as an artist. Was this a huge moment where you just said, what was that process like of saying, I'm going to switch to black and white? Was that?
I've been questioning the color for a year. Yeah. I just felt that the color wasn't communicating the essence of nature. Yeah. Because it's just too much color. You start seeing the color, you don't see nature. You don't see what you're supposed to be seeing. And then when this happened, it really hit me that this is what I need to do. Yeah. I had no preconception that I would ever sell anything. Yeah. That I could ever make a living. Nikki was doing hand-painted black and white, which was colorful, so people were buying it. Right. And she said she was going to support us because she knew that nothing would sell. Right. So I just jumped off the bridge, took all my color work to the dump, maybe $400,000 worth, and watched the tractor run over it. And bought an 8x10. I was shooting 5x7 before then in color. Yeah. And I bought an 8x10 because I wanted to do more detail. Yeah. And I just threw myself into it. And one of my best shots was taken in that first couple of months. Wow. The moonrise and Ochapi. Yeah.
It's a beautiful photo.
So it was really inspiring because I was photographing what I wanted to photograph. So
when you lose somebody that's so close to you, did it derail you at all for a while?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, actually, it was June 15th on our anniversary. Oh, wow. And Father's Day. Yeah. It wasn't until we went to a show in Ann Arbor, I think that was late August, that period of time I sat down and when I was at the show looking at my color work, I said, that's it. Yeah. I'm going to do what I think should do. And my first show in black and white was Thanksgiving. Wow. And it was successful, which was really shocking.
That had to be such a rewarding experience to know.
It really was. But we didn't believe it was. We thought it was a fluke. Okay.
Was it emotional?
Then about 20 years or so later, I was still fluking.
Yeah. Still having the same fluke. Yeah. Was it an emotional sort of experience to see those photos be a success?
Oh, yeah. It was fantastic to see that my idea, my concept, my perception was correct. Yeah. And at that point in time, I started working with actually Water Management of Florida and Sierra Club and Audubon and Nature Conservancy and really got into helping these organizations, asking, what do you need? Yeah. And I worked with Wilderness Society. I've worked with most of the Wildlife Fund, UN.
Yeah. Wow.
So basically, that was the right decision, and because black and white really is, I think, I don't want. I'm sure this is a big controversy. It's classified more as art than color. For one main reason, it's archival.
This is true.
And color is, I'm sure everybody will object to my concept here, but I've tested it and it's not archival.
Yeah.
So, of course, archival is a different word. People don't understand what archival means. It means you do the best you can in the media you're using. That's what archival means.
Say it again.
You do the best you can for longevity in the media you're working in.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you're working with inkjet, you work with the printer that has the best inks and you use the paper that has the best longevity.
Yeah.
And that's as archival as it gets. It may be 3 weeks, it might be 20 years.
Yeah.
But that's what if you do the best you can,
right,
that's available, that's really what's called archival.
And you're not finding that for color.
Well, like the color RC paper, they do color print, wet prints, and the paper's good for 27 years. The emulsion might be good for 80.
Yeah.
Well, the paper's only good for 27.
So it doesn't matter.
This is according to Kodak and Ilford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So then let's talk about archival and work and preserving your work, and we sort of talked about this a little earlier. Your photos, I mean, you want it to be around forever, obviously. I mean, that's the point of having a body of work or any work period, is you want it to last. But of course, this isn't going to last. Like the nature isn't going to last, and some of the things you're photographing aren't going to last.
Right.
Do you ever take a photograph and look at it and say, this is just like almost like an historical piece, because this is this isn't something that
everything I do is historical.
Yeah.
Because you can have a volcano, there goes the mountain.
Yeah.
In Florida, it's biological.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the scenes I take, they're different every year.
Yeah.
This plant dies, this new one comes up.
Right.
You get a flood, you get a drought, so actually there's really very few things on this earth. Maybe there's nothing on this earth that's lasting.
Right.
People have a tendency to think you can set roots down. This is going to be my. Yeah. Well, yeah, for a little while.
Yeah. So then things aren't as.
But we try to make people feel as good as they can, and have as good as experience as we can, as long as it's possible.
Yeah.
In other words, this day is beautiful. Well, why complain? It's beautiful. Let's enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's sort of where you're coming from in your work, is just enjoy it.
Right.
Because it's not, it's just not, it's sort of accepting that life's not precious. I mean, it is precious, but it's not like things aren't precious, that things change, that things happen, and it's,
right.
Can be affected.
Yeah, it's because of nature, because of greed.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of elements that could create change. We need to keep working to do the best we can.
Yeah.
We're not doing too good at that.
Right.
But we do the best we can, and we hopefully are pleasant to other people.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a nice thing to do.
Right.
Don't honk your horn too much,
Yeah.
But, it's... Yeah, just... everything that I know, all the people that I meet, politicians, engineers, I meet a huge amount of people. And all the things that I know that are happening in the world, I can be very pessimistic.
Yeah.
But I try not to be, because I have a beautiful wife for 48 years, and I have beautiful kids, and so we just try to do the best we can. And I know that I'm not going to change the world,
right?
But we hope we can make a little bit of difference.
Do you get frustrated, or do you just sort of accept and hope to lead people into a positive direction. I mean, do you get frustrated when people?
I get extremely frustrated.
Yeah.
People, particularly with people with a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because they could do things right for a minuscule part of their income.
Yeah.
And they have these rationalizations. I think the reason they don't, I don't know, maybe I'm really off the base, but their friends think, what are you, environmentalist?
Yeah.
You know, but well, I've been with billionaires that don't want to put solar panels on their roof.
No one even sees the roof. Yeah.
I mean, they can go out and buy a painting for $2 million
right.
and don't put $20,000 in solar panels on their roof.
Yeah.
I mean, that frustrates me.
And you deal with these people all the time.
All the time.
So it has to be just so.
Every once in a while they do it though.
Oh, so that's what you. I mean, that's what sort of keeps that going.
I was working with a developer, and I said I would do some things for you if you put solar panels on every house you build, and he did.
Wow.
So every once in a while it works.
So I mean, and you don't have to get into huge detail, but can you give me sort of like a story of like a really good success of communicating and seeing the change and so?
Well, that was the best example. I mean, I know they put it on. I think it was like at least 100 homes.
That's a huge.
And it was.
That's a huge amount of homes.
2 kilowatts.
Yeah.
2 kilowatts per home.
Yeah.
So that's what 200 kilowatts.
Wow, that's a huge. That's a huge change.
So it worked, but I keep trying.
Yeah.
I get so upset of people thinking they can make success by changing kids' attitudes. What that's doing is saying, okay, I'm going to let the next generation fix it.
That's true.
And then what's going to happen when they get old? We'll let the next generation fix it.
Right.
The people we need to be talking to are the old farts.
Yeah, who have the money and the power.
Have the money and the power.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem teaching the kids.
Of course.
But your main emphasis should be on the older people.
Well, because they set the precedent for their own children and their children.
Well, absolutely.
Children. Yeah.
I put solar panels on, they're going to put solar panels on.
Right. Yeah, because then if he has children and his children take over the business, they're going to grow up with a much more environmentally aware father. Yeah.
Right. Like my house, I have 32 bulbs in my house. You turn every bulb on, 180 watts. That's one bulb, one incandescent bulb. Okay?
Wow.
Of course, I only have a 940 square foot house.
Okay.
But still, it's 32 bulbs.
Yeah.
And it's 180 watts.
That's amazing.
And
it's not, these things are impossible.
It was really difficult.
Right.
I had to screw out one, screw another one in.
So, but do you run into people saying, "Oh, well, in this economy, the economy is so tough. How can I can barely put food on my table. How can I possibly?" I mean, do you run into that?
Well, sure, you put it into that, and I say, "Well, put it on your MasterCard."
Yeah,
and in 3 months it'll have already been paid off because you save that much money in electricity.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like in my gallery, I went from $360 a month to $150. That's what, $210 a month.
It's amazing.
So unfortunately, you have to figure out how you can start thinking long term.
Yeah. Because
short term kind of means a short term Earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is, and it's. I mean, are you happy though to see that recently people have become more aware, or it's more mainstream to be aware of the environment than it used to be?
No, it's not.
It's not? You don't feel like it is?
You look at any political poll.
Yeah.
The environment's not on the poll. Take a look at the polls.
Yeah.
You'll never see the environment on a poll today.
Yeah. So
does that make any sense? That gives me
the
concept that we're not
frustrating.
We're not in the mainstream.
Yeah.
And that's because of television and radio and newspapers.
Right.
These guys do one environmental story on one subject, and that's it again. And we go back there. And people have to learn, and they don't listen until you go on television and Geico.
Right. Okay.
How many times a day do you see Geico ads on?
Oh, probably three per hour, three per half hour on one station.
That's pound, pound, pound.
Yeah.
That's the way they're making it work.
Yeah.
If you want to save the environment, you got to pound, pound, pound. Not just tax something. Oh, can you say something? Yeah. I mean, maybe it's not sexy, but it's a war.
But it's a war.
It's a war of survival, and people don't look. If the communication business would look at it as a war of survival, maybe it would come out. Right. But again, those stations are owned by companies that are making money.
Right.
They're owned by corporations. They're not free.
So then,
the advertiser would probably drop them.
Yeah, this is very true.
Yeah.
So Nixon was your favorite in this sense?
Well,
environmentally,
yeah, because that was a huge thing to say to businesses, you have to do it right. You just can't throw your garbage in the water. You can't throw your garbage in the air.
Yeah.
That was huge. And these new Republicans are trying to get rid of that.
Who's your least favorite for the environment?
Reagan.
Yeah, I'm not surprised you said that. I figured. Yeah.
First thing he did is took the solar panels off the White House.
Yeah.
Well, why would you take them off? They're there.
Well, it takes so much money just to get it off too, so you're losing just that much more money. Yeah.
But why take it off?
Right.
It's making money.
He took it off because of the corporations.
I guess he didn't want to have any symbol. He was interested in the environment.
Yeah.
It was the last Republican I voted for.
Yeah.
I voted for Reagan the first time.
Did you feel cheated when you did it?
Oh, boy. He was supposed to balance the budget and all that stuff. And James Watts was the head of the Interior Department. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyhow, we could do this all day.
Right. And then my last sort of question I have, I just want to touch on your work. And the one thing that I've noticed is, I've noticed two things that sort of kind of go together, is that you have a lot of young admirers, young photographers who are admirers. And you also have, now I sit in this gallery every day, and I sit in my office is the actual gallery itself, is on the floor in front of me, so surrounded by your work. So I get to watch everybody's reaction. The other thing I notice is people have a really emotional reaction. I mean, people I've seen tear up on more than one occasion. I've seen people stand in front of a photo for a long, long period of time, more so than any other photograph I've ever seen. You have those two things going on. What do you have to say to the young photographers who look at this work and see the visceral, emotional reactions of your audience? What advice, what do you have to say to them?
Photograph what you love.
Yeah.
That is the best thing I can tell you to do, because if you love something, you'll try to figure out how to express it.
Yeah.
Whether it's cars,
right,
people, trees, ants.
Just something.
Whatever you love is what you should pursue. And you don't pursue something because somebody else is selling it.
Yeah.
And then so many photographers make the mistake of, Clyde's landscapes are selling. We'll do Clyde's landscape stuff. Well, it usually doesn't work. But if they liked flowers, I mean, they're really passionate. They would figure out a way to interpret a flower that people could interpret.
Yeah.
So that's my thing, is do what you love.
And is it interesting? I mean, how does it feel? How do you personally feel when I tell you that people become emotional over your work, and young people?
It's one of the things that when I do shows here, I do shows in museums. I watch people as they come in.
Yeah.
And I watch them as they go out. They're kind of as they go in, and they come out, they're smiling.
Yeah.
That turns me on.
Yeah.
They come out of a show smiling, not shaking their head. What was that all about?
Right.
When they come out smiling, I did my job.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's the most, has to be the most rewarding feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I have hardly ever seen anybody not smiling.
That's brilliant. Yeah. And you've had that reaction for years now.
Years. Yeah. It's been really ever since I did black and white. Now color was never that way. Really? No, never that way.
Wow. So then you really found yourself after you began artistically, of course. After you.
Well, my black and white in the beginning was good. Yeah. But you have to realize when I began, Ansel Adams' Moonrise over Hernandez was selling for $75 for a 16 by 20. I think it just sold one auction the other day for $300,000. Yeah. So I liked photography. I enjoyed photography. Enjoyed nature. So I went to color so I could match the carpet. I could match their couches. Yeah. So it would sell. Yeah. And that's why I went to color. Was pure. I wanted to stay into photography. Right. Which I guess could be considered good or bad.
Well, it's both. I mean, it is.
But I finally discovered that I had to go back to my roots. Like I say, there's pictures in here that I shot in black and white before I started shooting color. Wow. And they're still good pictures.
So what was that? I said I had one last question, but I've sparked one more out of me. Your first, like, quote unquote, like, successful photo, the one you first felt was like a powerful photo. When you first sort of looked at it coming out of the dark room, I mean, what was that feeling like?
Oh, it was actually watching the picture come up in the tray is pretty exciting. Yeah. I think it was the sand dunes I shot down in Glamis in 1971. Yeah. That said, I really like. I mean, that turned me on. Yeah. And unfortunately, today it still turns me on.
As it should. You're doing the right thing. Yeah.
I mean, it's really weird. You can say you get turned on by when I see it. I got some great images. I think this trip. I mean, I really got turned on, and I'm sure when I make the first prints, I mean, it'd be really exciting. Yeah. It's magic when you create something that's universal. Yeah.
And you're doing it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I keep trying.
Yeah. Well, that's all you can do, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been a really fantastic interview, and I appreciate it, and I wish you and your wife the best and safe travels back to the other Venice, the Florida Venice.
The warm one.
The warm one, yes. Well, thank you so much. This has been the G2 Gallery Podcast. Tune in next time. We'll have some more artist interviews coming up. Thanks.